Okay, so this is the Joy for All cat by Hasbro, which I think was released last year in 2015 and is meant to be like a therapy robot for adults and the elderly. And on that side over there is LuLu My Cuddlin Kitty, which is a robot that was released by Hasbro earlier that's meant to be basically a kid's toy. These two robots, as you can see, look very similar. They have the same like internal structure and all that, but different types of fur. The fur on the Joy for All is much softer than on the LuLu. So I know when I bought the Joy for All, I was wondering what the real changes Hasbro made were. And I think a lot of people are still wondering what the changes are, so I'm going to do a little comparison between the two. I apologize that I can't have them both running at the same time because I do not have two sets of 4C batteries. So those are just hard to get a hold of. Okay, so I'm first just going to compare the battery compartments because that is one area where there are some changes. I don't know how well I can get this on camera, but that is the battery compartment of the LuLu. It has a little black switch that has the options of on, off, and try me. And then there's just the case like that. And then the Joy for All, in contrast, has this really big, bright red button that has on, mute, and off as the options. I think that is sort of a nice, slightly more accessible option for some people because it's not like a tiny switch you have to fiddle around with. It's easy to see, it's big. So that's good, but aside from the switch change and the different hair, I am not sure what physical differences there are between them. I'm going to be turning on the LuLu first here. She's a little older and more beat up, so hopefully she'll work all right for us. I've noticed that the purring in both of them is different. When the Joy for All purrs, you can feel it like vibrating slightly. That doesn't happen with the LuLu. They both have the same motions they can do. They can raise their paw to their face, they can roll over on their back. They can blink, they can move their head side to side, they can flick their ears, and they can open their mouth. Yeah, this one hasn't rolled over on its back yet, but they can roll over on their back, both of them. The Joy for All has its eyes closed right now, but I think they both have greenish eyes, so I think the Joy for All's eyes have a slight more like tealish blue tint to them. And these are more like emerald green. Okay, so that's mostly what the LuLu does. I'm going to swap out the batteries now. Okay, so I now have the Joy for All here. You can hear that also just with the sounds of it licking or nuzzling its paw or whatever. The sounds are more realistic than the ones used in the LuLu. The hair on this is much nicer. It does shed a little bit, but it sheds a little on both of them. And then you can hear there's the different types of meows there than the LuLu. But yeah, the hair on this is very sort of silky and soft and long. The hair on the other one is, I don't know, it's like the same length, but it feels more plasticky and synthetic. This feels a little more realistic. And there she goes rolling over. And scratch her tummy when she's doing that. They both will do this. And that's the different purr. You can hear it's a much sort of, I don't know, much more relaxing and less repetitive and synthetic sounding purr. There, and she'll lean into your hand if you scratch the side of her face. They both do have fairly loud motors in the portion that raises their arm and turns them over. I do think that's definitely something that Hasbro could improve upon with future versions, at least of the Joy for All. So I would say it's one of the things that takes away sort of from the realism of it. But I would say that the Joy for All is an improvement over the LuLu if you were thinking about getting one or the other and weren't sure what the differences were. You can actually feel it when this one's purring if you put your hand on it. With the LuLu, you can't. I don't know how well you can see her eyes there, but they're sort of a slightly more tealish aqua color, while these ones are more sort of like emerald yellow-green. You can hear that she has a lot of different types of meows, whereas I think that the LuLu just has one meow it can do. This one will also do a few sighs. Some of the sighs are a little creepily human-like sounding, but I don't know, it has a larger range of vocabulary than this one. I guess if you're considering getting one of these two types of robots, just sort of be your own judge. You know, here's some examples of sort of what they each do. I would say that this one has a larger range of sounds it makes. It's a little more realistic with the sounds. Has the more realistic purring. It has better fur. This one, you can obviously find a lot cheaper used. It does have sort of more plasticky fur and a more limited range of sounds it can make. And the purring in it is sort of like the traditional For Real Friends purr that Hasbro uses, which is a little weird sounding. But, I mean, structurally they're the same. They have like a hard plastic frame inside their legs. You can move the leg manually like that there, but it can't move on its own. They have like plastic paw pads, both of them. Structurally, they're pretty similar, but Hasbro obviously did make some changes in the behavior.